Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. How long can you keep pouring into everyone else while running on empty yourself? How long before the version of you that gives, supports, and sacrifices collapses under the weight of exhaustion? The truth is simple. If you don't put yourself first, you will eventually have nothing left to give. And the most dangerous part? Nobody will save you because that responsibility belongs to you. There's something people don't always tell you, something that might sound selfish until you live it and realize it's the furthest thing from selfishness. It's survival. It's strength. It's the foundation of every single thing you want to achieve. And it's this. If you don't put yourself first, if you don't protect your time, your energy, your health, your peace, then everything else you're building will eventually collapse. Most people are taught to give, to sacrifice, to pour themselves out until they're running on empty. We applaud the person who's always there for everyone else, the one who never says no, the one who sacrifices their own well-being to make sure everyone around them is taken care of. And while that may look noble on the surface, let me ask you, what happens when that person burns out? What happens when they're depleted, exhausted, resentful, and no longer able to stand strong? What happens is simple. They can't give anything to anyone. Putting yourself first doesn't mean ignoring people. It doesn't mean being careless or cold. It means understanding that if you want to show up for others, if you want to be someone who can contribute, lead, protect, and inspire, then you need to operate from a position of strength. And strength doesn't come from draining yourself. It comes from investing in yourself. This is the silent power most people miss, the ability to quietly, unapologetically choose your own well-being first, to say, I need to rest, I need to eat well, I need to train my mind, sharpen my body, protect my energy. That doesn't require an announcement, it doesn't require approval, it requires a decision, made in silence, repeated consistently until it becomes a way of life. The truth is, the world will constantly try to pull from you. Everyone has demands. Your job wants more hours, your family needs attention, friends call, people ask, expectations grow. If you don't establish boundaries, you'll give everything you have away without even realizing it. And here's the reality, nobody is going to hand you back your time, your health, or your peace. If you lose it, it's gone. That's why you need to guard it. You need to protect it with the same intensity you'd protect something priceless, because it is priceless. When you put yourself first, you start to see how different life looks. Suddenly, you're not running late because you're scrambling to fix everyone else's problems. You're not constantly exhausted because you stayed up too late saying yes when you wanted to say no. You're focused, clear-headed, energized. And from that place, you can give more to the people you actually care about, to the projects that matter, to the life you want to build. Think about this. If you're on an airplane, the safety instructions always say the same thing. In an emergency, put on your own oxygen mask before helping anyone else. Why? Because if you pass out from lack of oxygen, you're no good to anybody. That principle doesn't just apply on airplanes, it applies in life. Too many people are suffocating, gasping for air, trying to take care of everyone else while neglecting themselves, and they wonder why they feel stuck, drained, or lost. The answer isn't out there. It's inside. It's in choosing to prioritize your needs without apology. And let's be clear, putting yourself first requires courage. It means you'll have to say no. You'll have to let people down. You'll have to stop being the person who fixes everything for everyone. And that's hard, because people may not like it. Some will even try to guilt you. But here's the thing. People who truly respect you will understand. The ones who don't respect your boundaries never respected you in the first place. Strength isn't loud, confidence doesn't need to shout, and power doesn't always show up in physical form. The greatest power you can cultivate is the ability to stand still, to stay calm, and to choose yourself in silence while the world tries to distract you. That's discipline, that's resilience, that's control. Ask yourself, how much more could you achieve if you weren't constantly tired? How much more clarity would you have if you gave yourself time to think, to breathe, to reflect? How much stronger would your body be if you stopped putting off taking care of it? How much more peace would you feel if you started protecting your mental space? That's the silent power. Nobody sees it right away. Nobody applauds you for going to bed early, for saying no to a toxic relationship, for walking away from drama, for choosing to train when it's easier to stay home, for meditating instead of scrolling on your phone. Nobody claps for those decisions, but those decisions build you. They harden your foundation, and eventually, when you stand stronger, when you're focused and unshakable, people will notice. They'll call it confidence, they'll call it leadership, but you'll know it came from putting yourself first. And let me tell you, when you operate from that place, the world feels different. Stress doesn't control you. Opinions don't shake you. Distractions don't pull you off course, because you know who you are, you know what you need, and you've already made the decision that your well-being is non-negotiable. You want to inspire others? Start by showing them what it looks like to take control of your own life. You want to lead? Lead yourself first. You want to be strong for your family, your team, your community? Then strengthen your foundation. That's what it means to put yourself first. Not selfishness, but strategy. Not ego, but endurance. Because when everything else fades, when the noise quiets, when the lights go out, the only person you're left with is you. And if you haven't invested in that person, if you haven't built them strong, resilient, and focused, then everything else you've given away won't matter. But if you do, if you take that silent power and make it your way of life, then no matter what storms come, you'll be ready. And readiness doesn't just mean being prepared for the worst. It means creating space for the best. It means when opportunities come your way, you're not scrambling to catch up. You're not wishing you had more energy, more confidence, more clarity. You already built those things. You're ready to seize what's in front of you because you've done the work in silence when no one was watching. That's the difference between those who rise and those who hesitate. One group prepares, the other makes excuses. Putting yourself first allows you to shift from reaction to intention. Most people are in reaction mode every single day. They wake up late, rush to work, answer emails all day, run errands, put out fires, and collapse into bed. Then they repeat it. That's not living, that's surviving. And survival mode doesn't allow you to thrive. When you put yourself first, you create structure. You decide your priorities. You don't just respond to life, you direct it. That shift doesn't happen overnight. It happens with small choices. Waking up earlier so you have time to train your body or your mind before the world demands your attention. Saying no when you feel that immediate guilt creeping in, but knowing deep down that no is protecting your future. Choosing water over alcohol, sleep over endless scrolling, discipline over distraction. These choices look insignificant in the moment, but they compound, and over time they build a version of you that's untouchable. People will notice. They might not say anything at first, but they'll feel it. They'll wonder how you stay calm under pressure, why you're not stressed when they are, how you keep showing up with strength when everyone else is fading. They'll think you have some secret, but the secret isn't glamorous. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's that silent commitment to yourself, repeated day after day, no matter what anyone else thinks. And here's what most people don't understand. Putting yourself first doesn't push others away. It attracts the right ones closer. When you have boundaries, you teach others how to respect you. When you invest in yourself, you inspire others to do the same. When you protect your energy, you create space for deeper, stronger relationships with the people who actually matter. People can feel the difference between someone who's drained and someone who's whole. One person takes from you because they're empty, the other gives because they're full. Which one do you want to be? The silent power of putting yourself first also means taking responsibility for your life. That's not always comfortable. It means you stop blaming circumstances, stop blaming other people, stop waiting for someone to come save you. Nobody's coming, you're it. And when you fully accept that, it's not depressing, it's empowering. Because if you're the one responsible, then you're also the one in control. You want more strength? Build it. You want peace? Protect it. You want freedom? Create it. Nobody can hand those things to you. They come from choices you make in silence, when nobody's cheering, when nobody's watching. They come from prioritizing what you need over what feels good in the moment. That's power. That's the edge most people never develop because they're too worried about being liked, about keeping the peace, about meeting everyone else's expectations. And let's talk about expectations because they're heavy. People will always have them. Family, friends, co-workers, society. Everyone has an opinion on who you should be, how you should live, what you should sacrifice. If you're not careful, you'll spend your whole life living by their script. But when you put yourself first, you start writing your own. That doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It means you stop betraying yourself to satisfy them. Self-betrayal is subtle. It's skipping your workout because someone wants your time. It's saying yes to a project you don't believe in just to avoid conflict. It's staying in a relationship that drains you because you're afraid of hurting someone else. Every time you betray yourself, you chip away at your own foundation, and eventually, you don't even recognize the person you've become. Putting yourself first is how you stop that erosion. It's how you start rebuilding the version of you that you actually respect. Respect is everything. If you don't respect yourself, it doesn't matter how much praise or approval you get from others. It won't fill the void. But when you respect yourself, when you know you've chosen discipline over ease, truth over comfort, growth over stagnation, that respect builds confidence. And confidence is magnetic. It's quiet, but it's undeniable. People sense it. They may not understand it, but they feel it. Think about how differently you move through the world when you're confident. You walk into a room and you don't shrink. You speak and your voice doesn't waver. You make decisions without second-guessing yourself. You stop asking for permission to live your own life. And all of that comes back to this one simple choice, putting yourself first. Now, it's not always easy. There will be days when you want to give in, when you want to slide back into old patterns. There will be people who push against your boundaries, who test you, who try to pull you back into the version of you that served them more than it served you. That's where the silent power becomes critical. You don't need to argue. You don't need to explain. You don't need to justify. You simply hold the line. You stay grounded. You stay consistent. That's how people eventually learn. They can't move you. And consistency is where most people fail. Anyone can put themselves first for a day, a week, maybe even a month. But when stress builds, when life gets chaotic, when people complain, they fold. They go back to old habits. They stop showing up for themselves. The real power comes when you keep going anyway, when you choose discipline over comfort again and again until it becomes second nature. That's when everything changes. You'll notice it in the little things. You'll notice you're less reactive. You'll notice you don't feel guilty for saying no. You'll notice your focus sharpens, your patience deepens, your strength grows. And over time, those little things add up to big things. Careers that thrive, relationships that flourish, goals that actually get achieved. Not because you chased them desperately, but because you built yourself into the kind of person who attracts them naturally. And that's the beauty of putting yourself first. It's not about running away from people or responsibilities. It's about showing up with such strength, clarity, and peace that you can actually handle those responsibilities better. You become more reliable, not less, more trustworthy, not less, more capable, not less. Because when you're grounded in yourself, nothing shakes you. Imagine a tree with deep roots. Storms come, winds blow, rain falls, but it stands. Why? Because it's rooted. That's what happens when you put yourself first. You create roots, you create stability, and when life throws its storms at you, you don't get uprooted. You bend, you adjust, but you don't break. People around you see that, and they lean on you, but they can only do that because you've built strength within yourself first. So ask yourself right now, where have you been betraying yourself? Where have you been putting everyone else ahead of you, draining your own energy to meet their needs while neglecting your own? Where have you been ignoring your body, your mind, your peace? And what would your life look like if you started choosing differently? You don't need a massive overhaul. You need one decision today, one act of putting yourself first. Maybe it's saying no. Maybe it's going to the gym. Maybe it's taking 10 minutes of silence before you touch your phone. Maybe it's finally ending something that no longer serves you. Whatever it is, that's where the power begins. And when you make that choice, don't announce it. Don't explain it. Don't wait for applause. Just do it. Quietly, consistently, over and over again. Because the silent power of putting yourself first doesn't come from one loud declaration. It comes from 1,000 quiet decisions that nobody sees, but everybody eventually feels. Because the silent power of putting yourself first doesn't come from one loud declaration. It comes from 1,000 quiet decisions that nobody sees, but everybody eventually feels. And those decisions stack. They create momentum. They carve out an identity that is unshakable. At first, it may feel like small things, waking up when you said you would, drinking water instead of reaching for something that numbs you, leaving your phone down and staying present with your thoughts. But those choices are like bricks. One by one, day after day, they build a fortress around you. And inside that fortress, you become stronger, calmer, clearer. That fortress isn't built to keep people out. It's built to keep you steady. It's built so you're not at the mercy of chaos, of demands, of manipulation, of guilt. It's built so when someone tries to pull you into their storm, you don't go. You don't let them dictate your energy, and you don't let them drain you. You decide how you show up, and you do it from a place of strength. The problem is most people never build that fortress. They leave themselves wide open. They think putting themselves last will win them love, validation, approval. But here's the truth. People may appreciate it for a moment, but they'll come back for more and more and more. If you don't set the boundary, they'll take everything you give until you're empty, and then they'll move on to the next person who doesn't know how to say no. That's why putting yourself first isn't selfish. It's essential. It's the only way to stop the cycle. And you can't fake it. You can't pretend to put yourself first while still living for everyone else's expectations. The body knows when it's being neglected. The mind knows when it's being ignored. The spirit knows when it's being suppressed. And eventually, that neglect shows up. It shows up in stress, in resentment, in fatigue, in broken relationships, in lost opportunities. You can mask it for a while, but you can't escape it. The only way out is to take responsibility. Responsibility means discipline, and discipline is where most people quit. They want the results, but they don't want the repetition. They want the strength, but they don't want the sacrifice. They want the respect, but they don't want to earn it in silence. Discipline is unglamorous. It's saying no when it would be easier to say yes. It's leaving the party early so you can wake up and train. It's choosing preparation over procrastination. It's doing the work when nobody's clapping for you. That's the cost. But the return? The return is freedom. Because when you discipline yourself, you free yourself. You're no longer a prisoner to cravings, to distractions, to other people's demands. You stop being reactive and start being proactive. You stop drifting and start steering. And from that place, your life looks entirely different. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. And don't mistake silence for weakness. There's a misconception that putting yourself first, quietly and consistently, means you're being passive. That couldn't be further from the truth. Silence is strategy. Silence is focus. Silence is where the real transformation happens. It's not about proving anything to anyone. It's about proving it to yourself every single day until the proof is undeniable. You'll feel resistance along the way. People will question you. They'll tell you you've changed. They'll accuse you of being distant, selfish, arrogant. But what they're really saying is, you're no longer as easy to control. And that's good. That means you're finally standing on your own ground. That means you've stopped giving yourself away so cheaply. That means you've learned the value of your own energy. And let's talk about energy, because it's your currency. Time you can't get back. Energy you can't reclaim once it's wasted. Every yes you give takes a piece of it. Every moment you spend on things that drain you leaves less for the things that build you. That's why putting yourself first is really about economy. It's about managing the most valuable resources you have, your time, your energy, your focus. Spend them wisely and you grow. Spend them carelessly and you break. So ask yourself, where is your energy going right now? Who or what is consuming it? And what would happen if you redirected it inward, into building your health, into sharpening your mind, into growing your skills, into fueling your purpose? The answer is simple. You'd become unstoppable. Not because life suddenly gets easier, but because you get stronger. Strength isn't just physical. It's mental, emotional, spiritual. It's the ability to say no without guilt. It's the resilience to endure discomfort without breaking. It's the clarity to know what matters and the courage to act in it. And every one of those qualities comes from putting yourself first. You can't build them if you're constantly running on empty, living for everyone else's priorities. It's not about being perfect. Perfection is a trap. It's about progress. It's about being a little more disciplined today than you were yesterday. A little clearer, a little stronger, a little more committed. And when you look back 6 months, a year, 5 years, you won't even recognize who you used to be. Because the person you are now will feel like a stranger compared to the person you've become. But it starts here, with silence, with strength, with the decision to protect your energy at all costs, to stop apologizing for your needs, to stop explaining your boundaries, to stop betraying yourself for approval. It starts with the courage to say, I matter too. And once you accept that truth, once you live it, everything else aligns. Opportunities find you, people respect you, relationships deepen, and challenges don't crush you, they shape you. Because you're no longer at the mercy of the world. You're anchored, you're grounded, you're prepared. That's the silent power most people overlook. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't seek applause. It doesn't need validation. It simply exists, steady and unshakable, in the person who has chosen to put themselves first, again and again, until it's no longer a choice, it's who they are. It simply exists, steady and unshakable, in the person who has chosen to put themselves first, again and again, until it's no longer a choice, it's who they are. And when it becomes who you are, you stop questioning it. You stop bargaining with yourself about whether you've earned rest, whether you deserve peace, whether your boundaries are valid. You don't need to argue with yourself because it's no longer a debate. It's your identity. It's the standard you live by. And once you elevate your standards, everything else in your life rises to meet them, or it falls away. That's the part people don't always anticipate. When you start putting ourself first, when you build that unshakable core, some things will no longer fit. Certain relationships won't survive. Certain environments won't feel right anymore. Certain habits will lose their grip. At first, that can feel uncomfortable, even lonely. But it's not loss, it's alignment. It's clearing space for the people, opportunities, and experiences that actually serve your growth. Think about it. If you're weighed down by what drains you, how can you ever rise to what fulfills you? If your calendar is filled with obligations that mean nothing to you, where's the room for the things that matter most? If you're giving away your energy to people who take without giving back, how will you ever have the strength to create something extraordinary? Putting yourself first forces you to make those hard choices, and those choices create the life you actually want, instead of the one you've been tolerating. And it takes courage, because putting yourself first often means going against the current. The world praises self-sacrifice. It glorifies burnout. It rewards people who grind themselves down until there's nothing left. But here's the reality. Exhaustion is not a badge of honor. It's a warning sign. If you're always running on empty, you're not strong. You're vulnerable. You're one unexpected challenge away from collapse. True strength is sustainability. True power is endurance. And endurance only comes when you prioritize yourself. The irony is, the more you put yourself first, the more you actually have to give. When your mind is sharp, your body strong, your spirit steady, you become a force multiplier. You don't just contribute more, you inspire more. You don't just show up, you elevate the room. And people feel that. They may not know what changed, but they'll sense the difference. That's the silent ripple effect of self-prioritization. Let's be clear though. Putting yourself first doesn't mean life becomes easy. Challenges will still come. People will still test you. Obstacles will still appear. But the difference is you'll be equipped. Instead of reacting with panic, you'll respond with precision. Instead of breaking under pressure, you'll bend and adjust. Instead of letting setbacks define you, you'll use them to sharpen yourself further. That's what happens when your foundation is strong. You stop being breakable. And part of that strength comes from discipline with your thoughts. Putting yourself first isn't only about protecting your time and your body. It's about guarding your mind. If you allow negativity, comparison, and doubt to take root, it doesn't matter how disciplined your schedule is, you'll sabotage yourself from within. Putting yourself first means choosing the thoughts you feed. It means refusing to dwell on what you can't control and focusing instead on what you can build. It means replacing excuses with action, replacing fear with preparation, replacing insecurity with proof earned through effort. Every thought is a seed. If you water doubt, you grow hesitation. If you water fear, you grow paralysis. If you water strength, discipline, and resilience, you grow power. That's why silence is so critical. It gives you space to notice your thoughts, to redirect them, to train them the same way you'd train your muscles. A strong body without a strong mind is unstable. A strong mind without a strong body is limited. But when both are aligned, you become unstoppable. And it's not about intensity, it's about consistency. Anyone can show up once with passion, few can show up every day with discipline, but those few are the ones who change their lives. They don't rely on motivation, because motivation fades. They rely on commitment. They rely on systems. They rely on the quiet, daily act of choosing themselves first, whether they feel like it or not. That's the silent power most people never experience because they stop at discomfort. They quit when it gets hard. They choose temporary relief over lasting growth. But you don't have to. You can decide right now that discomfort is your training ground, that every moment you feel resistance, every time you want to quit, every time you're tempted to go back to old habits, that's the moment you grow. That's the moment you prove to yourself that you're stronger than your excuses, stronger than your cravings, stronger than your fears. And every time you do, you stack another brick on that fortress. Over time, those moments define you. Not the easy days, not the days when everything flows, the days you wanted to quit but didn't, the days you were tired but showed up anyway, the days you were tested but held your ground. That's where your identity is forged. That's where you become unshakable. And the truth is, nobody else can do it for you. People can support you, they can encourage you, they can cheer you on. But at the end of the day, it's you versus you. It's your choices, your discipline, your silence. And that's a gift, because it means you're in control. You don't need permission. You don't need approval. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need to decide that you're worth it, and then prove it through action. And yes, there will be sacrifices. You'll sacrifice comfort. You'll sacrifice people who don't align with your growth. You'll sacrifice old versions of yourself that you've outgrown. But what you gain in return is far greater. You gain freedom. You gain strength. You gain respect, both from others and, more importantly, from yourself. You gain the life that only belongs to people who were brave enough to stop betraying themselves. So when you feel the pull to put yourself last again, when the guilt creeps in, when the pressure mounts, remember this: you're not just making a choice for today, you're building a foundation for tomorrow. Every act of self-prioritization is an investment in your future strength, your future peace, your future success. And that future is worth far more than the temporary approval you lose in the present. That's the quiet truth most never realize until it's too late. They spend years giving themselves away, waiting for someone to notice, waiting for someone to refill them. But nobody can. Nobody will. That's not their job. It's yours. And when you finally accept that, when you finally claim that responsibility, when you finally put yourself first, you don't just change your life. You change who you are. You stop being at the mercy of the world and start being the architect of your own reality. That's what silent power looks like. Not noise, not applause, just steady, consistent, undeniable strength, built one choice at a time until nothing and no one can move you off the path you've chosen.